Hello and welcome back to Read, Rant, and Review. So in my last review I mentioned that I should read more boy books because I've been reading a lot with, the strong independent women in them. So I decided to just go online and look for a list that somebody will have compiled of books for boys. YA books for boys, because YA is my thing. And it was encouraging because a lot of the books on that list were books like The Hunger Games that, of course, starred a female character. So it was really encouraging to see a lot of books on there that I had already read, but at the same time I had already read them. So one of them that I found that my library actually had was called I Am Number 4. I just kind of got it. I didn't find out anything else about it. It was interesting. I actually got the digital book on MP3 version so I could listen to it. I'm sorry if it's really noisy. There are a lot of cars and stuff going by. I have to have my window open because the house doesn't have air conditioning, and otherwise I would die. But of course it's also country USA right now, and so there is a lot of traffic and a lot of noisy traffic, so I apologize for that. Okay, so I Am Number 4. In the beginning they were a group of nine aliens who left their home planet of Lorien when it fell under attack by the evil Mogadorian. 9 aliens who scattered on Earth. 9 aliens who look like ordinary teenagers living ordinary lives, but who have extraordinary paranormal skills. 9 aliens who might be sitting next to you now. The 9 had to separate and go into hiding. The Mogadorian caught number 1 in Malaysia, number 2 in England, number 3 in Kenya. All of them were killed. John Smith of Paradise, Ohio is number 4, and he knows that he is next. I Am Number 4 is a thrilling launch of a series about an exceptional group of teens as they struggle to outrun their past, discover their future, and live a normal life on Earth. So already this sounds like classic boy YA fare. It sounds a lot to me like the Olympians series, the Percy Jackson series, sounds a lot like that, where some kid finds out that he has superpowers, and he's better than all of the other kids except for his special group. But let's talk about this book. Okay, you know how sometimes I bring up the author when I'm talking about a book, and what I think of the author and how that colors my view of a book. I did not know anything about the author of this book when I read it. I only researched this afterward, but I feel like I should tell all of you guys up front. Alright, so this book is ostensibly by Pittacus Lore, which even at the get-go I knew was a pen name, but I didn't know how much it was covering up. It is actually a book by a fellow named of James Frey and a fellow named of Joby Hughes, I guess. I don't know. So, James Frey, here's a little backstory. He wrote what was ostensibly a memoir about his struggle with drug addiction. He went on Oprah, he got real famous, and then it turned out that it was not actually a memoir, that it was a fiction. And he had just touted it as a memoir, and there was a whole scandal, and he had to apologize to Oprah because he was on her show. And I'm not even going to touch on that or what I think about that. But after that, Mr. Frey decided that he had just had too many great ideas for books, and he wanted to write the next big thing that was going to sell a lot of copy, and it was going to get made into movies, and this is how he was going to do it. And what he did was he created what I think of as an author sweatshop, where he found these eager young authors who just really wanted to be published, and man do I know those feels. I would love for somebody to just appear and be like, I will make you be published. And even though these young authors were not going to get their names even on the book or their names anywhere near it, I still understand, because like, it's not so much that you get your name out there as an author, it's that you want to get your words out there, and your name being on it isn't as important. Of course, being paid is also nice, and he was going to pay them 30% of whatever their book made, although they would never be able to take any credit for said book. And so he workshopped I Am Number 4 to basically become like Alien Twilight for boys. And it makes a lot of sense because, as you will find out, it tries desperately to hit all of those notes that, you know, young adults are supposed to like. My question is, like, if he was going to write this book with the intention of it becoming a movie, and it did, which I will probably watch, actually, just to, you know, for completeness. If he was going to write this book to become a movie, why didn't he just write a screenplay? Hire some jobbing young author to write a screenplay instead. That I don't get. And also, as a result, I don't know how much of this book is the fault of Joby Hughes and how much is the fault of this Frey dude. But either way, this book is terrible. Let's talk about why. Okay, so this book right off is like Superman meets the X-Men, kinda. It's got the Superman thing where an alien that looks exactly like a human comes to Earth, and then he finds out he has powers, but his powers don't come from our yellow sun. I'll explain where they come from in a minute. It's pretty hilarious. And he has to fit in and fight the evil, because they're coming for him, except for instead of General Zod, we have the Mogadorians. And of course, all of the good guy aliens look exactly like humans, and the bad guy aliens don't. They look scary and uglier, but somehow they still manage to be like around on Earth and relatively unnoticed. But of course, our main character just looks human exactly, no problems there. I would have loved it if he was like somehow hiding his real form, and that was part of the danger, is that someone would see what he really looked like and it would turn out he looked like that squid or something. But no, he looks exactly like a human, and so does his companion, which is like his dad, his mentor character, who also came with him because all of these special children were sent with a caretaker whose only job is their well-being. So none of these characters are interesting, none of these characters grow, all of these characters might as well just be cardboard cutouts of somebody arranged in a high school hallway. The main character, just everybody is a Mary Sue, every single one. A few of them were slightly more interesting versions of a Mary Sue, but not much. Like the nerdy friend is a little bit interesting because he has a little bit of a backstory with aliens, but that's pretty much it. And he's ridiculously loyal for no reason, but you can still appreciate his loyalty even though you don't understand why. And the mentor character is cool because the mentor characters usually end up being cool in these kinds of books, but he never steps out of that realm of the typical mentor character. The girlfriend and the relationship in this book are just the shittiest thing that you will ever read. She's like this ex-cheerleader who's super nice, super friendly, and likes our main character for no conceivable reason. He just like appeared. It's like he came to this new school and was handed a woman. It's basically how it went down, and she is like inseparable from him. Their love, she is just like, oh my gosh, I love you. Let us engage in kissing and trite conversations about our love, and I will never leave you or forget you for no reason, of course. So realistic. And of course he hits every cliche where he's a new boy in town because they've just had to flee from their last town because the bad aliens were going to find them there. And so he flees to this town, Paradise, Ohio, and he goes of course to the school, and of course instantly he's unpopular, but then later he sort of manages to become sort of popular, and the guy who bullied him at the beginning ends up having some sort of weird respect for him for no reason. And yeah, it just follows all the notes. So as this character grows up, he is supposed to develop these powers called legacies, and he's finally starting to develop them. And the legacies are different for every one of their species, and it can be anything. And this is where the X-Man thing comes in, because they could control the weather, they could shoot lasers out of their eyeballs, they could have telekinesis, they could, I don't know, have the ability to float upside down while drinking. Anything, apparently. It could be anything. And so his first power is that his hands glow, which it's strongly hinted at that the bad guy aliens don't like light. And so I'm like, oh, well, his glowing hands are eventually going to come in handy then in the final battle. It never comes up. He just has glowy hands so that he can be more fish out of water in his new school. And everyone can be like, why are you wearing gloves? And he could be like, my hands are cold. And of course, every time that he gets a power, he masters it really quickly with not much help. Like he gets these glowy hands, and his mentor tells him that he needs to control his emotions because strong emotions will make his hands glow. And he's like, okay. And for like a day, he has trouble controlling them. And then all of a sudden, he can just control them, and it's fine. And he can switch them on and off. Never a problem again. There is barely any culture to this race that he comes from, these Lorians from Lothlorien. That's not really their planet's name. But it should be, it might as well be. It's like an elf forest. And I won't even get into how their planet couldn't even be a planet that sustains the kind of life that it does because of its size and proximity to its sun. Their culture is non-existent. So, like, you find out a few things about their planet, and it's that at first they were horrible and they were polluting their planet and they almost destroyed it, but at the last minute they backpedaled and they somehow brought nature back, and then they lived in tune with nature, and as a result nature gave them powers, because apparently nature on their planet is like the trees in the Na'vi in the Avatar movie. It gave them powers as a gift. They didn't evolve powers, it just gave it to them because they live in the Fern Gully planet. But it only gave powers to some of them. There are the ones who have powers, and then there are the ones like the kid's mentor who don't have powers, and their only job, they're basically a slave race, is to take care of the ones who do have powers. But they're happy about being a slave race, I guess. Doesn't seem to bother them. So yeah, we've got these people who are fairies, and then the only other real piece of culture that we get from them is that they mate for life, and their mating bond is extremely, extremely strong. So like the mentor guy, Henri, has a wife back home on his home planet, which is dead now, and she's probably dead now, but he will never love anyone else. He will only ever love her, and he will continue to hope to find her someday. It's like, okay, I guess I can get that. They mate for life, and that means only that. But then the kid comes to the planet, and he's like, oh, I love this girl Sarah that I just met in school, and his mentor is like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, go ahead and have a relationship. And I'm like, dude, your people mate for life. If he gets attached to this girl, this is the only girl he will be attached to forever. Shouldn't you maybe stop this before he gets too attached? Because mightn't he want to, I don't know, save himself for one of his own race, or even save himself for a high school girl who's not made of cardboard? Something? But no, the mentor guy's like, yeah, go ahead. Oh, you won't have the same feelings for her that you do about one of our species. Yeah, okay, dude. I also don't understand why the evil aliens are chasing them, because the evil aliens, it turns out, are like anti-nature, again, Fern Gully, and they suck all the energy out of the world. So they went to the Lorien planet and they sucked all the nature right out of it, all the energy right out of it, and that's how they destroyed it. Now they're coming to Earth to do the same thing, but rather than doing that, they're hunting down these 9 children instead, because reasons. And they could just eat our planet, and then as a result also kill these remaining people. I don't understand what the problem is here. I mean, these guys have these giant behemoth stompy monsters that they bring with them. They've got like 2 different warrior castes, like the scouts and the warriors, that can both kick your ass, and they've got giant fuck-off monsters. They've got kaiju, and instead they're chasing down teenagers. So to kill our main character species, they have to be killed in order, and he is number 4, hence the title of the book. And so every time one of them is killed, the other ones get like a special scar around their ankle, which tells them that the previous one was killed, and so they should watch out. And of course 1, 2, and 3 have been killed, so our guy is next, because they can only be killed in numerical order. So you would think, like all of the other ones, would just work really hard to keep that last one from being killed, you know, the one that's next in line from being killed. But of course they don't know where each other are, and they were scattered throughout the world. And then conveniently, if they were all to come together, they would all be able to be killed in whatever order, because again, reasons. And I'm curious, like, what together is. Do they have to be in the same town, on the same continent, in the same room? What is together? Because eventually, one of the others, number 6, shows up, and she's your typical badass caricature, cardboard cutout. And she is like, okay, the Mogadorians are here, and we have to leave or fight them. And so, of course, our main character has been being a total brat this whole time, and even knowing that danger is coming, he's like, but I like it here, and here I have found love, so we have to stay. And his mentor, for some reason, is like, well, okay, since you found love, we can stay. Also, he's mildly abusive to his mentor character for a while. Yeah. So 6 is there, and now she can be killed because she's close to him, and I don't understand why she doesn't just go, like, hey, I'm in another country, far away from you, but danger's literally coming for you. Get the fuck out. And then, like, not, because now they could both be killed, but okay. So we got to the final battle, and I have a whole little page about the final battle itself because it's shitty, and I'm gonna tell you all why. One of the powers that John, our imaginatively named main character, has is telekinesis, because why not? But the fucker keeps forgetting he can move shit with his mind. Like, his mentor is about to get literally stomped on by a giant fuck-off monster, and all he would have to do is just be like, with his mind, because we have established that he can pick up, hold, rotate, move people in the air, and all he would have to do is use his mind to just sweep his mentor out of the way. I mean, at this point, I think conveniently the enemy have put up a field that, like, weakens his powers, but even weakened, I'm pretty sure he could just at least scoot his mentor out of the way of being stepped on by a giant monster. I don't understand why this is a problem. Because the book keeps forgetting that what powers he has and when he should use them. As if this book needed more proof that it was made to sell Happy Meal toys, the aliens, the bad guys, have a sword that shoots knives. I'll just let that sink in for a while. Yeah. And they also have a gun. They have a bazooka. So they have guns. But they have a sword that shoots knives. So they shoot knives at him. And the knives are on fire. Because. Of course, another power that our hero has is that he's immune to fire, and fire can just engulf him and it will continue to, like, burn on him, but it won't burn him. So he's like the Human Torch, but somebody else has to light him. And so, of course, these aliens conveniently have swords that shoot daggers that are on fire. And so he ends up lit on fire. And it's not bothering him, you know, he can use it to his advantage, whatever. And then the bad guy goes, oh yeah, I have a bazooka. And so he grabs this bazooka and then shoots it at our hero. And conveniently, the way this bazooka works is it absorbs, like, life force. It doesn't absorb energy. Energy wasn't brought up. It was life that it absorbs. And so this giant bazooka round ball of life absorbing thing hits our main character, and it absorbs the fire around him, leaving him fine, because fire is alive. That is literally how the book explains it. My brain just leaked out of my ears and is all over the floor. I just wanted to give an example of how his species could have been a little bit more interesting. Let's say because his species are so in tune with nature that they hate killing. So when he has to kill one of these evil Mogadorians, he doesn't want to do it. That would give him a little bit more character, and it would give the race a little bit more going on. But no, he just kills these guys because they're the bad guys, and good guys kill bad guys, and that's what happens. Absolutely no repercussions. You know how most teenage main characters have at least a moment you know, in these kind of fantasy stories. They realize they've killed for the first time, and we as the audience are given a moment to realize that they didn't like it, that they feel bad about it, so that we can humanize them. John here is a murderer and doesn't care. And of course this final battle is especially shitty because a final battle in a book like this should be about the culmination of the character's abilities, skills, and the things that he has learned throughout the book to bring him to victory. And instead it's just John bumblefucking around using his powers when he remembers he has them and getting extremely lucky. Also, there's both a dog and a mentor character in this book. Somebody's gonna die. It's the mentor character. It's a little bit sad. Not a lot, but a little. The dog barely manages to live. I thought they were going to kill the dog too, but no, he manages to live through this book. The dog is, of course, special because on their planet, everything is weird. And so some of the animals on their planet are called chimera, and they can shapeshift into giant critters. So the dog also becomes a kaiju. And we're given a hint of this at one point because the main character likes to run. He runs super fast as well, which he never uses. He likes to run to school, and the dog will go with him, and so he would start to run faster than the dog, and then the dog would run off into the trees, and then reappear ahead of him. And I was like, please tell me that this is a teleporting beagle, because I really want this to be a thing. And I really wanted it in the final battle for the dog just to save him by, like, blinking everywhere, and just, like, biting the bad guy here, biting him on his nose, and biting him on his eye or something. No, it just turns out that he turned into a giant monster in the trees over there, which didn't make any big stompy sounds, and then turned back into a dog to come out in front of his owner. I have no more fucks to give. And the poor, because I told you I got an audiobook version of this, the poor man who was reading the audiobook, you could just hear him trying so hard to infuse some kind of life into this shitty book, and toward the end, I could actually hear him giving up. It was like I could feel his soul breaking as he was forced to read this terrible book and try to make it sound serious and try to make all these really stupid things sound dangerous. I could hear his soul die a little bit. I felt so bad for him. So that was I Am Number 4. Should you read it? No. Should you recommend it? No. If you do read it, get the library version where you can read it for free. I Am Number 4 should be lit on fire and then buried in a hole so no one ever has to be subjected to it again. But, on the other hand, the only place we can go from here is up, so when I read my next book for boys, I can guarantee that I'm gonna like it better than this one. Peace out.